Hi, my name is SHEMAGH. I have taken several classes at Dave Canterbury's Pathfinder School in Jackson, Ohio. Most recently was the intermediate scout patch. And I've had several other fellow students ask me on the Pathfinder forum about level of skill required, things to expect, gear. And so I kind of just thought I would quickly make a video that would go through the required gear list and hopefully give some tips and some do's and don'ts, what gear helps for me and what gear didn't work for me, and in hopes that it helps someone else get that patch. Here goes nothing. Pathfinder continually changes their courses, so even if I were to sit and give you a detailed explanation about what to expect for that weekend, chances are my experience is not going to be identical to your experience. So if you've done the basics class, then you're all too familiar with the infamous gear dump, which is where you literally dump everything that you have on the ground as soon as you get out of your cars, and the instructors make sure that you didn't bring any extra miscellaneous items and that you really did just stick to the required gear list. If you think you're going to get away with something that's not on the gear list, think again, because they will go through everything. They will make sure that your bag is empty and that your bush pot is empty. So just don't even think about it. Just don't even attempt. You have to stick to the gear list. The first on the list is a carbon steel knife. I brought my Mora Garberg. The knife will definitely be taking a beating, so it's best if you have at least one that's 4 inches in length, full tang and a 9-degree spine. There was a student in the class who brought a Mora Companion, and the handle broke off the first day and had to do the remainder of the class with an exposed rat tail wrapped in paracord. And the 90-degree spine is only going to help you with the possibility of you doing a percussion fire. An axe. I have a Holtzfors axe. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. It's actually a hatchet. We barely use these in the class, to be honest. We did do some felling on our last day, but we can mostly get away with using our BUCKSAWs. But the thing is, this is going to be attached to the back of your pack frame the whole remainder of the class. So obviously, if you love yours like I love mine, just make sure that that is very secure to the back of your pack frame. Side note, you will not be allowed any diamond boards or sharpening stones. So it is imperative that your knife and your hatch or axe head are as sharp as you can make them before the class begins. The 2-quart cook pot and stainless steel container. It's probably a good idea for you to mark your cook pot with your name. Because at some point there's the possibility there's going to be like 12 or more cook pot bush pots in the fire, and it might be nice to know which one is yours. In terms of the 32-ounce Cantina nesting cup, I've used the Pathfinder one. I think we should all pretty much know what these are and have them. Obviously take the plastic lid off when you're throwing them into the fire. This is going to be in your haversack at all times. It's really important to stay hydrated, but you also never know when you might have to use it as a chow tin. A roll of 36 bank line. I brought a whole pound roll, but this bank line is going to be your lifeline at this course. If you notice that there's no paracord on the list, this is going to be used for everything from the lashings to your pack frame. It's going to be the cordage on your bow. It's going to be on your BUCKSAW with the windlass. It's going to be used for everything. It's going to be used for your knots and lashings for your shelter construction. It's going to help you lash materials and resources that you're going to be getting from the woods. So this will become your best friend, and it's also something that you're going to want to keep in your haversack at all times as well. One 6x8 canvas tarp or one 8x8 oilcloth tarp. This is one of those items that what I brought was something that I regretted. I actually brought a 6x8 canvas tarp. I wish I forked over the money and bought an 8x8 10-Smith oilcloth tarp, which is actually what my items are laying on now. I just found that the canvas to be a bit too heavy. Also, being that it was a 6x8, there are some shelter constructions that just got really awkward, like with one side was just not flush to the ground the way I would like it to be, or I was also dealing with some sagginess in the middle. The canvas just kind of weighs a lot. Just go for the 8x8. One queen size wool blanket. I have the Pathfinder wool blanket. I love this blanket a lot. Sometimes I wish it were maybe just a wee bit thicker, but you can't really beat how light it is and how compact it can get. Also, if you're going to be sleeping on the ground, I would definitely gather up some leaves, or if there's grass available, great. You might be able to make a browse bag with what you have, but at least you're going to get some padding beneath you. That's just going to help with not only comfort, but it's also going to help you with conduction. All right, 20 feet of rope, 3/8 inch braided dock anchor line only. There were some people that brought natural cordage. I think that was on the list at one point in time. It was taken off, not really sure why. This is going to be used as shoulder straps as well as waist strap for the pack frame that you're going to make. I bet people who did the natural cordage probably suffered a bit because this stuff is a bit softer. 20 feet may seem a bit excessive in length, but people were using them as ridge lines for their shelters. I actually wound up cutting a part of mine off, and I actually used it to timber hitch some of our shelter resources from the woods. You're not allowed to remove anything larger than the 4-inch diameter off of the campus property, so we had to do it in a wildlife area. And if you have to carry that material back to the campus, you might be like me, not have a lot of upper body strength. This actually really saved me because what I could do is I could timber hitch around the poles and drag the material behind me to get back to camp. Compass with a sighting mirror. I have the Suunto MC2. I think most of you should. People have been noticing manufacturing errors with these lately, so I might want to try and get use of mine before the class. It would really suck if you were in the middle of the class and all of a sudden you realize you get a compass that didn't work. Completion of this course is dependent on you completing several navigation courses. This time we're going to be using compasses with maps and protractor scales. The needle on these are very, very sensitive. So whether it's jewelry, your watch, your water canteen, the tip of the Write in Rain pencils are all sensitive of this needle. If you are taking azimuths on a map and you happen to be on a table that has metal underneath or on a bench that has a nail in it, that's also going to affect the azimuth that you're taking. Something to keep in mind is that these orienting lines, the red lines that are on the back of your compass, are also called meridian lines. If your orienting and meridian lines are in parallel to the grid lines on the map, as long as your declination is set, you are taking a good azimuth. You're taking an azimuth that's right. It means that there is no metal interfering with the azimuth that you're trying to get. Map protractor scale. I know a lot of people have problems finding these. I got mine from maptools.com. I put a little orange sticker on mine. I know that people tend to lose them. I didn't want to. They're good tools. Always remember that when you're using them, you need to go right and then up. Pace beads. They will wind up becoming your best friend. Do not lose them. Some people put them on their compasses. I clip mine to my vest. The way that they're used essentially is that by the time you finish the bottom 9 beads, you've reached 1,000 meters or 1 kilometer. It's probably not often that you're going to be walking that great of a distance. Some of the distances you're going to be walking are only a couple hundred meters. So it's really up to you how to keep your pace count. There were times where I actually used these beads, no joke, for just every 10 meters. You're going to get your pace count in the beginning of the class probably. I know that mine average is 65, but when I was out in the field, I actually made it up to 70. And the reason why is because you're going to be going over so many tree roots, and just the terrain might be so difficult that your paces are going to be shorter. So I recommend rounding it up to get a more accurate pace count for when you're out in the field. It says to bring a 3x3 cotton cloth. I just brought SHEMAGH. That will totally be fine. Headlamp with spare batteries. I cannot emphasize enough the spare batteries part. A Swiss Army knife or another multi-tool. I wound up bringing my Swiss Army knife Ranger. This was another one of those items I actually regretted bringing. Despite the fact that the saw on these guys quite large, which will definitely come in handy on your first day when you're cutting materials like your pack frame and your bows for your bow drill. I actually find that the saw on the multi-tool, I have the Leatherman Super Tool 300. I actually find that it's probably more aggressive. The other reason why I wish I didn't bring this and also brought my Leatherman is that just because the blade width itself, the blade width is wider than the one that's on the Leatherman. And this is something that you're going to be wind up using to make your V-notches on your hearth for your bow drill. And for me, I had found that I wasn't getting precision in the V-notch that I would have preferred if I had used my Leatherman, the haversack. It is imperative that you bring a haversack. Everything that you see is going to be in this haversack except your bush pot and your wool blanket. I sort of cheated and got a Max Expedition shoulder strap. You're going to be stuffing this with lots of tinder resources as well as your water. It wound up being quite heavy at times, so it did prevent it from digging into my shoulder. Comfort was key, and I got away with it. I have no regrets. On top of the haversack, I also brought a belt pouch. It was just a really nice addition to store specifically the navigation items. All right, the 21-inch BUCKSAW blade. I wound up bringing the aggressive Sydney Rancher. Here it is. This is actually the BUCKSAW that I had made during the class. Still pretty good. You know, reminder, you have to have your items on you at all times. And so while carrying an assembled BUCKSAW might sound like a pain in the ass, it's actually more of a pain in the ass to reassemble this in the field in case you happen to do any tree felling than it is to carry it whole. I wound up disassembling mine and kind of squeezing it into the side of my pack frame. And when assembling it in the field, there was a time where the windlass snapped and flew into my eye. By the way, when making your BUCKSAWs and putting the bank light on top for your windlass, I would recommend doubling it up because this can snap the bank line. The blade itself, when disassembled and on your pack, you know, you could wrap a SHEMAGH around it to make sure that you don't scratch yourself or, you know, maybe tear open your canvas or oilcloth. But that itself actually didn't work for me. Even though I wrapped it with a SHEMAGH, it actually still tore my bank line in the middle of a navigation course. I had to take my bank line out and re-diamond hitch all of my materials in the middle of a timed navigation course. So definitely you don't want that to happen to you. So just be really mindful. I think something that I would suggest, I kind of wish I would have done, is I probably would have made 2 bits of cordage to then hang on the pack frame and the bottom of the pack frame to secure it, and then maybe have wrapped the SHEMAGH around the blade. I also probably would have taken maybe some tulip poplar bars just to kind of protect yourself from the blade as well. Notebook and pencils. I like to have a really small notebook because I like to fit it in my front pocket. The Write in the Rain pencils, they work incredibly well. I also found that the maps from mytopo.com have this waxy protective layer on it, as they are waterproof. These actually don't work that well. It actually, sometimes it can just kind of scratch that waterproofing off. It makes it really difficult to write on the map with these. I saw some people have some of those Bic retractable pencils, and they worked really, really well on the MyTopo waterproof maps. Okay, you're gonna need a 3-day fishing license. These are for the state of Ohio. These are incredibly easy to get. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can actually get them at the Exxon station where everybody meets on the first morning. Something that you need to be mindful of is that you should really get a printed copy of this. You don't want to download it to your phone because your phones are not going to be accessible while you're out in the wildlife area. So definitely print this out and keep it on you. Just stuff it in your notebook. All right, personal medication and hygiene items. I brought the works and I didn't really use any of it. I brought the electrolytes. You're allowed electrolytes. I didn't even use my toothbrush. Probably should have used bug spray and I didn't. Really random crazy story. I got bit by a spider my first night that I was there and my hand blew up to the size of a baseball glove. Luckily Baxter fed me Benadryl so I can kind of get through the rest of the course. So any first aid related items Pathfinder is already going to have. Other than pretty much the clothes that are on your body, I like to wear a fishing vest. I've been made fun of it before. I like to have my hat. It protects me from the sun. It also protects me from the briars. But definitely some items I would consider are a wool shirt. Even though it might be summer when you're taking this class, this wool shirt is going to help protect you from the briars that you will inevitably run into. Other safety gear that I would bring are leather gloves, perhaps maybe some clear eye protective wear. You are allowed an extra pair of socks. If you have the money, invest in sealskin socks. The ones that I always bring go up to your knee. You most likely will be running into some mud during this class, and it may cause your feet to sweat a bit during the summertime, but I'd rather have that than trench foot. So you are allowed an essential rain gear item. I brought my North Face rain jacket. I'm not really into ponchos. I don't like that extra fabric flowing all over me. We never use it because it never rained, but hey, my rain jacket made a nice little pillow at night. This is a calorie restricted course, so you are not allowed to bring any food or snacks. The food is provided for you. When they pile up the food, I would definitely go for what has the most calories compared to what you think the best flavor is. I would eat it in the morning because the calories are what were going to be the most applicable to that day than compared to just getting through that night. If you happen to be a tobacco smoker like me, Please be advised that you are not allowed to bring a lighter on this course. So that means you are not allowed to have your first cigarette until you make your first bow drill fire. There's absolutely no tent or hammock camping this course, so just leave the gear at home or just leave it in your car. Something that I cannot emphasize enough is tick prevention. The campus is on Tick Ridge Road, and it's probably named that for a reason. Very recently, I just found out that I had a co-infection of ehrlichiosis and Lyme disease. I cannot say that I got this from the Pathfinder school. I spent a lot of time in the woods. I live in New York State. Those diseases are very prevalent here, but I had never been more sick in my entire life. Unfortunately, it has affected my job. I had to push off the advance till later this year because of how ill I've been. Check yourself for ticks, but also maybe get some tick gaiters, invest in stronger bug spray. Don't be me. That was kind of a quick rundown of the gear and why it did work for me and why it didn't work for me. I kind of hope that that helps you too. Things to do and not to do. Do not be late after you do these nav courses. Give yourself the time to get the resources. I personally would rather sacrifice the navigation point and come back with all of my resources than to piss Dave Canterbury and Sean Kelly off. Every time a team is late coming back from the nav course, that means the whole class is now behind. You're going to be cranky, you're going to be tired. Just take a moment to breathe. A big tip to help you get through this weekend is to watch your shit. If your stuff is not on you at all times, don't be surprised if it happens to disappear. Stay hydrated. You're gonna be losing water out there. You're probably gonna go into it already dehydrated. So definitely consume plenty of water. If you're like me and are so focused on getting that patch, if you're so focused on looking at the end of the road, then every obstacle in front of you just seems bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you take it one deliverable at a time, the end of the weekend will come. You will be thinking about Sunday on Thursday. As soon as you just get through each deliverable, that patch is just gonna get closer and closer and closer. Give every objective all that you have. Sunday comes fast. Inhale possibility and exhale doubt. As soon as you start to doubt yourself, it's the end. As soon as that fright comes inside of you, that I don't know if I can do this, that I don't know if I can push myself through that obstacle, it's only going to hinder every other future thing that you have to do for the remainder of that class. Psych yourself out to say that you can do it. You can pretty much do anything. Basic does not mean easy. So yeah, intermediate, multiply it by 100. When they say don't give up on yourself and the instructors won't give up on you, it's absolutely true. Despite the fact that they lay the pressure on pretty thick, they really are there to help you. I would say the best advice I can give to you is to don't quit. If you get through the weekend, you're still gonna get a certificate. If you don't get the patch, you at least still completed more than the person sitting on the couch because you showed up to have heart. Give it every ounce of gas in the tank. Practice that bow drill, practice making a bucksaw, practice your square notches and your V notches. Have faith in yourself that you can do it, and that will push you forward, and that will get you through every objective and every deliverable. And before you know it, Sunday is going to get there, and you're gonna be fine, and you're gonna get that damn patch. I hope that this video was useful, and good luck to all attempting the Scout patch. You can do it.